This is the 20th season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, Aftco, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good evening, and welcome to another second edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. So I had an evening show planned, well, for the last couple of days, because I forgot that 2 weeks ago I'd scheduled that I was supposed to shoot a show for Let's Fish TV and Andrew Upshaw today with Austin Cranford, which that was a whole different debacle to go try to shoot a TV show, a water willow show on a lake that just dropped 2 foot with the jet stream pumping 40-mile-an-hour winds. And anyway, I don't want to ruin it. We ended up getting a fantastic show out of it, and you'll have to watch it on, I think it's on like Bally Sports or all sorts of different channels there. But anyway, long story short, so I'm filming for the Let's Fish TV episode, and I checked my phone at like 2 p.m. I had it on silent. You know, we're like hooked up. He's paying for a can. It's a TV show. It's like an actual TV show, not a YouTube deal. And I had like 53 messages and 20 missed calls. And I immediately, like, that feeling in your gut where you're like, oh my God, what's wrong? Well, nothing was wrong. It was just that the Elite Series had announced that there was no entry fees in 2025. I already see a lot of comments in the messages about that. Listen, there's no way to put a show together about this in the time that it has broken, which was like 11 or 12, because no one on the face of the earth outside of, I would venture to say, 4 people at Bassmaster. I've even heard there's people at Bassmaster that didn't know this was going down. This is like a top and down, no angler's ass deal. And they dropped it. No entry fees. The press release reads, Bassmaster Elites no longer pay entry fees. Professional bass fishing will never be the same. Period. Ever. Period. That's strong. There's going to be more information that comes out about this over the next 48 hours. I know that for a fact. I will be able to speak about this much more educatedly. I'm not even sure if that's a word, but I will be able to speak about this much more educated in 48 hours. So hang tight. I don't know if it'll be the same level as like the mega show that we put together for the live scope forward facing sonar show for bass. But you can get a pretty good temperature of the room by looking at some of the Instagram and Facebook posts by some of the current Elite Series anglers. Now, most of them will point you to the tab at the bottom of that page where the press release is, and I'll share it right there, which is the Elite Series payout, specifically the fact that 27th through 40th, 27th is now $1,000 payout and 40th is $500, whereas it had been $10,000 for the top 50. Still $100,000 for first place, 30 for second, 25 for third, 20 for fourth. What had been a $10,000 check on a $5,000 entry fee. Remember, a $5,000 entry fee. But 10th is now $10,000. So in theory, and this is just facts, you could finish 40th in every single Elite Series next year, and you can make $4,000. Or you could win them all, make $800,000. One of those is more likely than the other one. But that's what we have. So we will have, I accidentally brought him in. Well, I was going to talk about our guest today, and then I accidentally brought you on. Josh Daniels for Pro Bass Adventures. What's up, man?
Happy to be here, my friend.
Good. All right. We'll have a much more in-depth show on the Bassmaster announcement in the coming week. But I said that to say this. Tonight's show was all about fishing in Mexico, and Josh Daniels, Pro Bass Adventures owner, is going to join us, and we're going to dive into all things bass fishing in Mexico. So thank you for jumping on. I think I scheduled my last evening show over the debate, the last major debate. Scheduled it over Game 5 of the World Series tonight. Hopefully you're not a huge Yankees or Dodgers fan.
No, I'm a fisherman first. So
Are you
happy
a
to be here.
baseball fan at all?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, I'm not.
Dude, I've kind of gotten into it.
Yeah.
Into it a little bit. I enjoy baseball. I don't like follow it as a Cardinals fan growing up, but I've gotten into the playoffs and the World Series, so I was watching it last night. Did you see any of the replays from last night where that foul ball went into the stands and that fan tried to Dude, that was wild. Have you ever seen anything like that?
No, not at all. I grew up in Seattle, so I love the Mariners back in the Ken Griffey Jr. days, but it's been a long time since we've had anything to be extremely.
No, that dude is banned for the rest of the World Series, and then he's a season ticket. I look into like weird obscure stuff. So then he's banned for the rest of the World Series. He's been a season ticket holder. He's been to like every playoff game in forever, and he had a pact with his buddy that should they ever have a chance to like maybe assist the Yankees by interfering with the opponents, that they would take full advantage of that. And then he was
premeditated,
true to his word, and almost ripped Mookie Betts' wrist off of his hand.
Yeah. Too much.
All right, let's talk bass fishing in Mexico. If you guys know and have listened to BTL for a while, you know that last December, my buddy Darren, who when I was 13 years old was the only guy in the Assumption Bass Club. I fished with John Ader 1 year, and then it was so bad that he actually moved to a different state the following year. I think he might have gotten relocated, but I like to say it was because he had to fish with me as a 13-year-old. Anyway, Darren was the only guy who was like, yeah, he can fish with me. So then for the last 4 or 5 years, Darren's been going to Mexico every year, and he's like, dude, you got to come down. You got to come down. You got to come down. And he'll be like, 1 year, he'd be like, it wasn't that great. And then the next year, he'd be like, dude, you got to come down. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. So I finally last year came down. And we'll get into all the reasons why I hadn't before and what it was, but I went to Pro Bass Adventures, and that's the lodge that you own. I didn't know that you were kind of a recently new owner to that lodge when I had come down, but no BS, dude. It was, so I'm trying to compare it it was the greatest 4 days of just pure bass fishing I've ever had in my life. Right. And I'm not kidding. And I'm not saying that everybody who goes down there experiences that, but I hit it at a really good time, and it was so much fun. Yeah. And that's kind of how I got to know you, and we started chatting, and I was like, dude, I think there might be something here, because I think there's a lot of guys who bass fish that have never been to Mexico that are maybe a little hesitant to go to Mexico, just like I was. And I think I can help you, and I think you can help me, because I want to go down there and do it more, and you want more guys to come down there. So that's how you ended up here.
Absolutely.
Fair introduction.
Perfect. Thank you for the introduction. And yeah, I am a relatively new owner of Pro Bass Adventures Mexico. First time I went down there was in 2020 and had a similar experience as you, and just fell in love with Lake Baccarac at the time. Also started visiting Lake El Salto, had some great trips, got to know the previous owner really well. And then we bought the company. It's been 2.5 years now that we've been the owners.
How does one go about deciding to purchase multiple lodges in Mexico? Let's just dive right into it, Josh.
Right place, right time. I got to know the previous owner really well. His name's Doug King. He's one of my best friends. And after my first trip there, similar experience, bunch of big ones, 10s, 11s, high catch counts every day.
And this was Baccarac.
Yeah, this was Baccarac, 2020, November. So not that long ago. We were supposed to go in the spring, but COVID hit and the trip got delayed. And I had a great trip because the owner had his card in the room, and I picked it up. I came with another guy who organized the group, local guy named Terry Johnson, and got back home, called Doug, just introduced myself, said I had a great time. You run a great business. And it turns out he lived 10 minutes from my house here in Phoenix. So we went to lunch, and I said, I'd like to help you. You don't have a social media presence or these things. What do you think? And he said, yeah, do it for me. So I started helping out with social media, emails, little things like that as far as the business goes. And started bringing groups of my clients down. I've been a fishing guide in Arizona for many years. I have another business named Big Fish Bullies, and we have a guide service here in Arizona. We have a clothing brand and a print shop here. So I started printing gear for all the clients at Pro Bass Adventures, making uniforms for the guides at our print shops, bringing groups of clients down. And before you know it, I was making 3-4 trips a year down there and towing my own boats, because I like fishing with a guide, but sometimes I just wanted to figure it out.
Yeah.
And through that process, he needed help bringing little supplies down, trolling motor parts, generators. So started give me a little discount or this or that if I could tow some things down, and we got to know each other and be really good friends. And over the course of a few years, Doug had his little battle with cancer and decided he wanted to retire, focus on fishing and hunting, the fun things. And he approached us and asked us if we wanted to buy the business, because we got to know all the employees so well, and there was some overlap with the scheduling and stuff from Big Fish Bullies, and it right place, right time, fell into place, felt natural. Fiance and I talked and said we'd be silly to pass up an opportunity.
Does she fish too, or was this
yeah.
Okay, so she she was all in on it. Was it like she was like, really?
Yeah, she's all in, and she's a very good fisherman. She grew up fly fishing, and then I kind of got her into the conventional side of things, and loves bass fishing. She really likes
a purist fly fishing, or what kind of fly fishing? Like the trout nymphing, or like
steelhead and that stuff up in the Pacific Northwest where we grew up. Yeah.
So like a true fly, like the splay,
and
that type of.
And it's made her skill set translate really well into more lighter line finesse fishing, which is something she's excellent at. She actually has a bunch of line class records: tiger muskie, smallmouth bass, largemouth bass, lighter line. She's phenomenal. Her name's Sarah Harris. Really proud of her.
Okay.
And she does a good job with the business too. So
so how did you get into the guiding with the Big Fish Bullies? Because that's kind of where it started then.
It did. I moved to I went to college in Maine, and I moved down to Phoenix. And
wait, like Maine, like Maine and the far north, like that Maine, the Maine up there.
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
Cold, tons of snow. University of Southern Maine.
Okay.
I played basketball there, and then I coached there for a few years, and eventually had enough of the cold and moved to Phoenix, where my parents had relocated after I grew up in Seattle. As soon as all the kids were out of the house, they moved to Phoenix. They were sick of the rain. And once I moved down here, I worked for a medical supply company, and I ended up running into a guy at a local shop who said, "My nephew's the best fisherman you'll ever see." And it's like, I got to meet this guy. And that's when I met Justin C., my partner in Big Fish Bullies, who's a heck of a fisherman, taught me pretty much everything I know, put the rod in my hand, and really just got me into bass fishing. Yeah, that's him in that photo there. Yeah, that's our other business, Big Fish Bullies. That's him with Sarah right in the middle there with a couple tiger muskies. Yeah, okay, that's my fishing family.
That's who I met at the Classic?
Yeah, that's who you met at the Classic.
Okay.
Yep. And so Justin and I were bringing groups of our clients down to Baccarac and El Salto many years, and same experience as you. It just blew our mind how good it was. The density of fish, how the average fish is so big, and that they're just not that picky. Like, I'm looking at my tackle box, like, what do I want to catch them on? Not like it's some puzzle that has to be unlocked and solved. And it's a fun way to fish. And if there's a technique you want to improve on, or just haven't got the repetitions in, being able to try it in a place like that where there's a slow time interval between bites and fights with fish, there's no better place to develop your skill set than a lake like El Salto or Baccarac.
Nice. So you're still active with the Big Fish Bullies then too?
I am. Yeah. I don't guide anymore. Very little, just like some legacy clients, because Pro Bass is pretty demanding, and I'm doing all of the scheduling. So I schedule the other Big Fish Bullies guides. I take the calls and I assign them to different lakes and different areas in Arizona, and then same with Pro Bass. So I'm a scheduler. I'm constantly engaging and talking with clients and figuring out what their goals are, where they're at, the logistics of the travel, trying to make it as easy as possible to reach their fishing goals, whether it's in Arizona or down in Mexico.
So you buy Pro Bass Adventures in 2021?
Yep, right at the end of the year.
And that is 2 locations. There's one at Baccarac and one at El Salto.
Yes. And for people who don't know, Lake El Salto is by far the most famous lake in Mexico, and Lake Baccarac's a close runner-up. But as far as trophy fishing goes, these are the two best trophy bass lakes in Mexico. 99% of the double digits in Giants caught in Mexico are coming out of one of those two lakes. There's other lakes that have had runs that were nice, like Huites, Comadero, that have put out some big ones, but those are kind of like the Bo Jackson of Mexico bass fishing. They went hard for a short period and kind of didn't have the management that our lakes have. So one thing I loved about Pro Bass is we're the only outfitter with lodges on both of those two lakes, Baccarac and El Salto. So because of that, our focus is trophy bass, trophy bass, trophy bass. Numbers as well, but we want double digits. We want 9s. We want 10s. We're after big fish.
And I guess as of now, so like how many other, I'm just trying to get like a big picture of this thing, Josh.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I said, we started to talk before and I said, let's just have this conversation on air during the show so we can get it. So how many other outfitters, competitors to say, I mean, could be friendly, could be unfriendly competitors, or how many other outfits are there on Baccarac?
Baccarac, 4 total, 3 on the water.
4 total.
Yeah,
okay.
3 on the water. So there's us, and I don't mind mentioning them. I have no bad blood against these guys. Lake Baccarac Lodge would be our probably primary competitor. We're both American partnership owned entities. And then there's a Mexican entity called the Federation. That's more kind of Mexican clients, clientele. Mm-hmm. And then there's a 4th one that's located in a nearby town called Baccarac. That's like 25 minutes away, and they kind of trailer and drive back and forth. So that's kind of the landscape. We're the biggest as far as client count on Lake Baccarac. And it wasn't that way when we bought it. So in 2 years, we've experienced some really rapid growth and surpassed our competitors and become number 1 by a pretty healthy margin.
Just for my few conversations with you, you have a real soft spot in your heart for Baccarac. Like you are all Baccarac. Like she's my first love. That's your jam.
She's my first love. I love El Salto too, though.
Yeah.
And I could talk about her for hours as well. Baccarac is higher elevation, pure Florida strain, more remote. El Salto has some black bass or northern strain mixed in, and it's closer to the coast, and the day and nighttime temps don't fluctuate as much, so the bite patterns at El Salto are a little more consistent. Well, Baccarac can get a little streaky. She can be red hot, or she can be a little tougher, while El Salto's a little more consistent. So,
but is it fair to say, like, if you're looking for pure 10+ pounders, Baccarac, if you're looking for consistency, 3.5 to 8.5 pounders, El Salto, with the potential for a 10-12 teener.
Yeah, teener potential is higher at Baccarac. And at the end of and it's funny because I hear my Baccarac competitors, because they don't have a lodge on each, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hear what they say about El Salto, and then I hear what the El Salto competitors say about Baccarac. They're way more similar than different. Baccarac's deeper too, and I think that has a correlation with big bass. But end of the year per angler, if I were to make like a ratio, it would be Baccarac probably 7-3 in the double digits to El Salto, maybe 6-4 some years. So it's close, but Baccarac does get the edge with bigger. One of the bigger.
I kept meticulous records last December when we were down there.
Good.
Our big me and Darren, who I fish with him every day. And one of the days, I will say this, one of the days I accidentally drank some shower water.
Okay.
So I only fished probably 2 to 3 hours that day.
Okay.
But I was golden the next day. It was one of those where they were like, hey man, like, drink bottled water. Just don't drink tap water.
Yeah.
And I was in the shower and I rinsed my mouth out and I went, I hope I don't. And I regretted it immediately. But it was only like a 8-hour deal. I was like golden after that.
Good.
So I say that. So the numbers might be a little higher because I was on fire last year, but our big was a 9.7.
Yep.
And we had 5 over 8 in 4 days. And that doesn't count the 3 that Darren lost at the boat.
Yeah. that average size fish at Lake El Salto, like I don't catch them under 3. I mean, it's rare. Everything's a solid quality.
So you said
fish.
7 to 3 for 10, but that's pretty dang good.
It's pretty close. Yeah. And there's some years El Salto does take the nod. Like Doug, the previous owner, meticulous records. So I can go back through his notes and see there are years where Salto has outperformed Baccarac as far as the double digits.
So 4 guides on Baccarac. El Salto, I know there's a bunch on. I'm good buddies with Pete Robbins and Hannah. They do a bunch of trips with
people.
What?
Yeah, they're good people.
Yeah, they're really good people. I've had Pete on the show a bunch of times. They work for what is the another lodge?
Anglers
Inn.
Yep.
Yeah. And then when I said I was going to Pro Bass Adventures, they were like, "What?" And I was like, "Dude," I said, "I've already been. Like, I like this place, man. I'm in on it." And they're like, "Okay." But I feel like there's. Let me see if I can. Let me guess how many there are. There's
go ahead.
Yeah, Ron Speed, and he's legendary. He's been there forever.
Yeah. His
Pro Bass Adventures, Anglers Inn, that's kind of like from what I've understood, like if you're like you like a little like steak and lobster every night, and then like they all have the red boats and they kind of fish close together. Like it's like
I've heard it. I haven't been there, but I've heard it described as like they're aiming for that resorty.
Yeah, that's it. The resort feel to it. Because when I was at Pro Bass Adventures, I was like, dude, this has everything I've got. It's got the margaritas, the siestas, the good food. Everything is clean, perfect, safe. The boats are badass, and the guides know what they're doing. I don't know what else I could need.
Yeah.
But I want to say 6 on El Salto.
Yeah, there's 3 on the water.
Okay.
The big 3: Pro Bass, Anglers Inn, and Ron Speed.
Yeah. And Ron's been doing it forever, hasn't he?
Yeah, Ron Speed Senior. Ron Speed Jr. runs it now. Senior's deceased. He's a legend in Mexico bass fishing. He developed Lake Comadero, and a lot of respect for that family. And same with the Chapmans. Billy Chapman Sr. is the guy who we all owe thanks to. He's the guy who originally put largemouth Florida strain in Baccarac, which was actually seeded before El Salto, and then they stocked El Salto later. He had the original lodge on Baccarac, which for some reason he let his license expire, and that's when Pro Bass and Lake Baccarac Lodge popped up. Was after that, and he moved to El Salto. And then Billy Chapman Jr., the son of Senior, now runs Anglers Inn. So great competitors. They've set the bar. So it's fun for me to kind of have something initially to aim at, and now kind of do some unique things to kind of set us apart. 2 more entities, Lake El Salto Lodge, which isn't on the water. It's down the street. There's just us 3 on the water. And then there's another one, and it's a Mexican operation. I honestly forgot the name of it.
Okay.
So there's 5 licensed outfitters, but 3 lodges on the water.
Okay. And then El Salto, you're way more likely to also just see locals that come and dump their boat in and go fishing for the day.
Absolutely.
I think when we were there for 4 days, we saw 2 guys in Legends that were out there like fishing, because my buddy Darren had a Legend. He's got a Charger now, but he's like, I'm pretty sure that's like an Alpha 211 that just ran past us.
Yeah. So there's some locals, there's some, well-to-do Mexican folks, and there's some expats, some retired Americans who live in Mazatlan, the surrounding area, that sometimes tow their boats over. Whereas like Baccarac's so remote, you're just not going to, you're not going to see a random boat outside of an outfitter. El Salto's a little smaller, so you notice the boats a little more, and there's more outfitters and more boat licenses on the lake. So maybe a little more pressure in a sense at Lake El Salto. Kind of to compare the lakes, to educate people in why our lakes have such an abundance of big fish that grow so fast, is that they're tilapia farms. In a sense, we're the sport fishing entities, and we share the lake with commercial fishing entities. And they're next to Lake Baccarac. There's a massive tilapia breeding facility. It's the biggest one in North America, and they're breeding 35 to 40 million tilapia a year. And they're stocking those in the lakes. Mostly in the Baccarac has around 8 million a year. El Salto gets around 5 to 6 million tilapia a year. And then what the tilapia fishermen do is they use gill nets with a 4 to a 5-inch netting, and they net the tilapia. And they sell them at the local fish markets. So kind of a neat program they've done is there were little pueblos, towns in those river valleys before the dams were built and the lakes were made. And those groups were moved to downstream areas from the dam, given land subsidies from the power that the dams generate and water rights. And now the descendants of those people who were kind of misplaced by the building of the lakes and the dams they have the licenses to be the tilapia fishermen. So they've kind of come up with a program to support the people who are displaced by the building of the dams. And so as much as sometimes if you're fishing and there's a net, people who've been to El Salto know this, sometimes there's nets. It's part of the reason why our bass get so big is that they're farm raised, they're pellet fed. It's almost like the trout stockings of California, it's constant food source for our bass to eat, and our water does not get cold.
I guess I didn't realize. So they raise them and then they put them in the lake and they let them get big and then they net them and sell them. So they use the lake as basically a growing pond.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what they do. And El Salto's got a set period where the nets go in and out. Like they go in the lake for 10 days, they come out for 6, they're in, they're out. And then that's from October through April 25th. The nets come out, they're done for the season. So that May, June, July, there's no nets. The lake's wide open. Or everyone wants to book in the no net periods. But hey, my biggest El Salto bass came with the nets in, throwing a 6XD parallel. And that's so Baccarac's different. They net only at night a couple days a week. They net in open water. A cool program there that we proposed and they were about is we went to the Tilapia Federation and we said, hey, what if we paid a little more taxes per boat to support the community and per angler, and you guys start netting, instead of doing parallel on the bank, only go perpendicular. And then what if when a tilapia fisherman accidentally catches a big bass in the net, if they record it and let it go, we'll pay extra taxes to a slush fund, and then you give them a little bonus for that. So what started as a little program that we thought about this last season, there was like a large number, over 1,000 double digits returned back into the lake that were bycatch in the nets. Biggest one, 16 pounds. So these lakes have produced for a long time. And with some of these new programs really getting a couple years old, they're roaring again. Like I feel like they're reapproaching their prime in a sense. And then the nets do work as like a culling system. And we know that too many predators can be a problem, but you cull some of the smaller 1 to 3 pounders and you're releasing the giants, you have and you're stocking food, you have a perfect recipe for a fishery that can really produce trophy sized fish consistently over time.
I would also assume though that like the guides know how to fish around the nets without like total chaos.
Absolutely. Yeah, they understand that. And they are marked. It's not like you don't see them. They're usually 50 feet, maybe 100 feet. And then there's buoys and they sag in the middle. So you can drive over them and completely avoid them. I don't think they much impact fishing outside of sometimes they're drawdown reservoirs. So when the water gets low, let's say like March, right before they quit for the season in April, there's more nets per acre than maybe October when the lake's high. But
I mean, I fished falcon before with the nets in and it wasn't a big deal.
No, I think that sometimes they might give people an excuse if they underperform.
Yeah. The damn nets.
Yeah.
All right. So we kind of have that kind of gives me a good feeling of like the difference of the lakes. Real quick, let's just kind of go through the different seasons, because you mentioned there were a couple months there that don't have the nets in. Like, I'm assuming you guys guide there at Pro Bass Adventures 12 months out of the year, all different seasons. And always then open. Can you kind of like just in a nutshell kind of break it down? Let's do El Salto, since that's where I'm going to, and then we might even do like a whole different Baccarac show.
Okay.
But let's do El Salto on like the seasons.
Yeah. So we'll start with monsoons. There's a well-defined monsoon season. We get 90 to 99% of our rain in the in a well-defined monsoon season that is August and September. So we're still open, but it comes with me being totally transparent with you. It's going to rain. Maybe while you're here, at some point it's going to. So bring a rain jacket. It might rain. We're fishermen. We can do that. It's no problem. Throw on the hydronaut or whatever. But our angler minimum goes up to 6 during that time, and we're usually 2. Season opener officially is October 1st. So we just had that. And that's when the netting starts. That's when the 1st through 10th, the nets are in. The 10th through the 15th, they come out. The 15th through the 24th, they're back in. And the 25th through the end of each month, they're out. So some months with 31 days, you have more time. February, they're not out very long. And that schedule repeats from October all the way through April 25th, and then they're out. So to kind of back up with our fish behavior, October is pre-spawn. It's still pretty warm. November, it really gets into the pre-spawn. They start staging and pushing up on flats. I see breeding activity and tore up tails in December. Full moon in December.
Wow.
I start catching males up shallow. You start getting those short strikes. Our water's not really clear enough to see all the beds, but you know a spawner when you see them. Females get tore up tails. Because the water level rarely drops below 65, we get a bit of a perpetual spawn. So it's a little like Florida, where any full moon could send up away. If there's a full moon at night and the sky's clear, you can bet there's some males somewhere making nests. So it's not a one and done spawn. We typically have our first wave in December if the full moon's in the later part of the month, or January, that first full moon's going to send up a wave. February, March as well. And then we have fishing kind of all 3 stages for a while through that time. So you don't get this acute post-spawn funk that you get in some spots of the U.S. Like I grew up in Seattle. Like if you blink, you'll miss the spawn. Down there, it kind of works to our benefit that by the time you get into April, May, those fish are fully recovered. The tilapia and shad, we do have shad, are spawning, and the bass are ganged up in wolf packs. They've recovered. They're chasing them all around the lake. So as the water level drops, so October's high, just got done with monsoons. It's green. It's the jungle. It looks like Hawaii. Water levels slowly dropping to irrigate crops, generate power through the dam. Get to like January, the tops of those decades old trees start poking out. And then as you get into March and April, there's a lot of trees all over. It almost looks like pork in some areas. So it fishes 2 different lakes. Kind of if you come in the fall when the water's high and there aren't a lot of trees visible versus it was a little lower last year. Like when you came in December.
Yeah, there was a lot of trees visible. Like just old, like real clean old trees, like the kind of whitewood.
Yeah. It's wild that like we don't really have any algae, no scum. Nope. We don't have any underwater aquatic vegetation.
Oh, that's true. The trees are clean. Like when you would run a swim bait up and get it stuck on the tree, there's nothing slick or slimy around it.
It's strange. I've always wondered why, but I guess it just hasn't been introduced there. Yeah. There is one aquatic plant present at El Salto that's not in Baccarac, and they call them lilies. But it's not exactly a lily. I think it's some sort of like a hyacinth. It's a floating plant.
Oh, it's
totally floating.
It's
and
thick.
They start in individual clusters, and then eventually they attach and form mats. And you can have a lot of fun fishing a frog over that, or a top toad. Or
we were throwing spooks on the outside of it.
Yeah, so
and they were crushing it.
It's cool because there's not much cover on the lake at all. I mean, we have the only boat dock, and that's really the only cover on the lake.
There's a cemetery. Darren said one year the water was up and he smashed them in the cemetery.
Yep. There's one in both lakes, and it's funny that.
And there's a couple fence rows. Like, they're big. Everyone's big on fence rows, from what I saw. Like if there was a fence row in the water, you were getting bit off of it.
Yep. Yeah. And there's a lot of old buildings too. You see the old structures, old schoolhouses, old churches. Some of them still have crosses sticking up. So it's kind of cool to look, back in time.
Yeah. So that's more the winter stuff then.
Yeah.
Going to-
And as we get into spring, March, April, May, shad tilapia start spawning. The bass gang up in wolf packs, but the bass will still spawn. Like I was there August and I accidentally snagged a fingerling bass this big in August. And I mean, how long was that spawn before? So they seem to spawn whenever. And I think it's because of the warmer water and just abundant food. So after April 25th, and nets are out for the whole season till the start of the next one after the rainy season in October. And that's a great time to fish the lakes. The days are long. And one thing we try to do is always be the first ones out and the last ones in.
What type of stuff are you fishing then, like technique wise?
I like swim baits in big top waters and big jigs. Sometimes drag a big old worm. But that's a great time for the bigger baits. They really seem to shine. In the mornings, you can just burn bank and power fish, and then during the day, I usually get a little more offshore. There's so many trees and offshore humps that just can hold some monstrous fish that you really won't find on the bank outside in the morning and the evening.
Okay. And then the summer, is that the big lead heads with the big paddle tails and the 10XDs and that type of stuff? Because I brought all that stuff and then never used it. I'm not bringing that in December. So
you're like pre-spawn, first stage of spawn when you're there. Those fish are just drawn shallow.
I'm not bringing an entire box of 10XDs and all that. I'm bringing a lot of 5/8 Kitex. I'm bringing a lot of 7-inch minnows. I'm bringing a lot of 1 3/4 ounce rattle traps. I'm bringing a couple glides.
Yep.
That's what I'm bringing. I'm bringing a lot of 1/2 ounce lead heads and 5/8 Kitex.
That's the time
a lot and a lot of spook. Like not a lot, but like 2 spooks and a couple yellow magics.
Yep. And a buzzbait can be killer in a whopper plopper that time of year too. In December,
really
coming. Yeah, they really can. Our fish.
Oh, I would love to see one just crater a freaking buzzbait.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I didn't even bring any buzzbaits last time.
Yeah,
I'll bring some buzzbaits this year. But so that's summertime. But that's when you really use the big stuff that wears you out.
Yeah. I love deep cranking, but if I don't have to and I can catch some shallow, I typically do that. I really like swim baits. Swim bait guy. I like glide baits. I like rats. I like soft plastics. If I can get them on a swim bait or top water, I'll throw that all day. So I kind of fish what I like now because it's fun. And
you can do that year round on that lake and catch it no matter what.
Salto, okay. Yeah. I can get a little more specific, but
no gizzard shad, no shad in the lake. Just
there are shad.
There are shad. Okay.
Yeah, there are threadfin and gizzards both, and there's also the tilapia they're stocking, and this is unique to El Salto, but not Baccarac. There's a cichlid. One of the few North American cichlids is called a Maya Heros.
They eat the crap out of a popper.
Yeah, which are cool.
We caught so many on a popper.
Yeah,
they're like that big, and you catch them on a popper, and they've got teeth.
They're super aggressive.
Kind of red.
And they're actually the cousin of the Maya Heros Mayan, the Mayan cichlids that are invasive in Florida. So they're similar to that. Cool side note, my lodge manager and I went out a couple weeks ago and caught the IGFA All Tackle World Record bean eye cichlid at Lake El Salto.
What that way?
That was 1 pound 2 ounces.
Oh, that's a giant compared to the ones we caught. What'd you catch it on?
Yeah, I caught it on a Umpqua micro popper 40. Little micro.
Were you trying to set the world record?
Yeah, we were with that one.
Oh, really?
We knew that it was attainable, and I looked it up and was like, dude, all we got to do is get a 1. We accidentally catch 1 and some change all the time. I
feel like I could break that in December while I'm there.
Don't you dare. No, good luck.
I'm gonna bring one of those little tiny
I got a certified scale. I got a certified scale down there for you. So just remember, you got to step off the boat and weigh it on dry land. I don't know how many guys have tried to set a world record and forgot to get off the boat.
Okay.
Interesting story how we caught it though. I was like, we're going to catch this record one. Let's go. Take me to where all the cichlids, or the river tilapia, as they call them. It's like, it's not a tilapia. Tilapias are African. Yes, they are. No, they're not. They're cichlids. Anyway, we go, and I'm fishing, and I'm catching the snot out of these fish, but I just can't break the record. And after probably 2 hours, I pick up a swim bait, and I'm like, I'm just going to catch some bass. And his first cast with my little micro popper, boom, he catches the record fish, first cast. So that's the way fishing goes sometimes. Okay, my hero's bean eye cichlid. There's channel catfish, gizzard threadfin, largemouth bass, and then there is a freshwater prawn, which isn't super prevalent in the main lake, but in the river sections and where there's muddy embankments, called a cowkie, which is like a giant crayfish, but with long thread-like pincher claws that are almost delicate looking.
What's
but
in it?
they're
What's
big.
I'll look it up on here.
Yeah, a cowkie. It's like a freshwater.
How do you spell that? Like, I don't even know what that. A K or a C?
I think it's CAUKI. I might have a picture buried in my phone, but it's a freshwater prawn, and they're actually a delicacy. They're great. We serve them at the lodge sometimes. But the bass do eat those. But there's no crayfish. Like, not like neither lake has crayfish like ours.
Okay.
They'll still stomp a jig. So throw your craw baits. Don't worry. They'll eat it. Baccarac's a little different. It doesn't have the My Heroes bean eye cichlid, but it does have carp. Carp showed up like 10 years ago through the river. I don't know how, but they're in there now. They're not totally abundant, but I've caught a couple like big mirror carps and stuff. So,
the mirror ones with like the scales.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I've always wanted to catch one of those. I don't know why,
cool.
but I think
I had one eat a swim bait,
eat it.
A 4-inch real prey swim bait. She thumped it and went straight to deep water.
You were probably like,
I thought I had the record. It was a dream crusher. But yeah, we've got so the forage is very, very similar in both the lakes. The floating lilies or hyacinth is only in El Salto. It's not in Baccarac. And every 5 years it grows too much. So it clogs the tilapia fisherman's net. It chokes out parts of the lake, and then we all team up. We gather it, we drag it up on the shore, and we burn it. And then it comes down the river again, and it slowly builds up. So right now it's at that prime spot where there's enough of it to fish, but it's not like interfering with the lake traffic or anything. So I think you'll be ready. Maybe bring a frog when you come.
Clay wants to know about gators.
No gators in our lakes. Maybe way further south. I think at one time there was, but the locals, they kind of eat any big protein. So no gators.
They don't last very long.
Yeah, they wouldn't last very long.
What about gar?
No gar.
Gar
in our lake. No. Neat thing. Okay, back to Billy Chapman Sr., the pioneer, the guy who started it all. So he did stock Temensis peacock bass, the giant peacock bass.
That was my next question.
They stock those in Baccarac. They stock 50-some thousand, but the largemouth were already so established, and they stocked fry peacock bass that they just ate them all. And
so there's probably a couple in there.
Maybe. I feel like we would have caught a few by now.
Yeah, you've never caught one. Baccarac has no smallmouth.
I hope someone does.
No smallmouth.
No smallmouth. I think our water's a little warm. I think so.
What's the average like water temp in this, like in August and then in December?
Last week I was there and the water was still 87 degrees.
Good Lord.
Yeah. So it hits the 90s in the summer, and our floor is usually, 65 is cold for us. Okay. Maybe some years only 70. It really depends on how mild or intense of a winter.
Let me ask you this. When there's a cold front, because there was a cold front when we were there, and we still caught the snot out of them, does it hit Baccarac worse than El Salto because El Salto has some northern strain in there, so that's why it's more consistent, whereas the Baccarac fish, it's kind of like when you're in Florida and a cold front hits where they go, we're going to chill out for a couple days.
I think that's very accurate. It's rare that there's a downswing. Like, what's slow to us is going from 60 to 120 bass per boat per day to 20 to 40, right? Mm-hmm. So we got to judge it on the Mexico scale, not the U.S. scale, because in the U.S. it'd still be.
So explain that. Let's just go. You mentioned it now. I do want to get into that, average days. So
average day.
I'm encouraging people to go down and try this, but I'm hesitant to say, hey, you're going to catch 100 bass over 4 pounds in 4 days, because we caught actually we caught 97 bass over 4 pounds in 4 days, which would have well been over 100 had it not been for the shower water. But 97, and those are on a scale, like a certified scale. I put it on. I literally documented each one because I knew people would go down there. Oh, we caught 105 pounders. Really? Did you? So I wanted to see what it was really like.
Yeah.
But give me averages and sizes for El Salto.
Yeah.
Like legit, because there's got to be tough days. There has to be tough days.
Yeah. It's skill dependent, right? Like that matters in experience. But if I average it across clients and I take out the people who've never fished before and maybe the pros, such as yourself, 60 to 110, 120 is pretty standard.
60 to 120
per boat per day. Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty standard.
I would agree with that.
Last year, I had some guys who were fishing A-rigs, doubling and tripling up, and then handing it to each had 2 tied on. And then when they'd catch one, they'd hand it to the guides, and they'd have 2 or 3 fish on there. The guide would unhook their fish and redress them and fix them up while they're fishing another one. And they were telling me they're getting 220, 230 a day, which is nutty.
I would 100% agree. But I also know that at some point when Darren and I were catching legit 3 2s to probably 3 10s on every single cast, we were like, hey, if we go 5 minutes and not catch one, we'll move.
Yeah.
And we legitimately could not make there was a flat. This is no BS. We could not make a cast without having a fish eat our stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd be like, I got another one. He'd be like, I got another one too. So we just said, oh, well, let's go. Grande. We want to catch big ones. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then we made a move and then we were only catching. But I could 100% see how if you wanted to, you could sit there and dummy 3 to 4 pounders every single cast at certain times. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Sometimes you can make the same cast in the same damn spot with the same lure 20 times and get bit every time. It's like they're either all there or that's a highway and they're using that.
Yeah. I would love to
mad.
That was my biggest problem was I couldn't like I'm used to, trying to visualize where fish is set up, how it's set up. Now you get around those trees and you're like, okay, I could picture, a fish is set up in that branch. You're going to reel it by, it's going to tick it, and then it goes slack. And, that fish was there waiting on a tilapia or something. But when you get out on like those kind of flats and open water stuff where it's like, dude, there's literally just fish just randomly swimming around everywhere.
Well, that leads us into another cool thing, right? Maybe we should talk about sonar.
Okay.
What we've done with the boat. So we just had a huge project. I was down there for 3 weeks with my good friend Justin C., who we brought up before, Mason Smoke, another great friend who do a lot for the company. And we were down there 3 weeks into September, and we installed new Ultrex trolling motors, lithium batteries, put Garmin units at the console with the new GT56 transducers down inside, 12-inch units up front, Live Scope Plus, and they're well equipped now. I mean, you don't need it in Mexico, but like you said, you're trying to think how they're setting up in the trees or what's the layout where I'm casting, and you're speaking with a guide who speaks English, but it's not his first language, right?
Yeah.
So it's nice to just be able to look and have it on an Ultrex where you can just pan left, pan right. And the guys who aren't into it, don't turn it on. But we also did a few with Lowrance too, HDS Pros and Active Target 2. So if people have a preference, we got you covered on both.
So explain how that works. I was not expecting how that worked. All I knew was that I wasn't going to run the trolling motor. And I told Darren, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be into that.
Yeah.
About a half day in, I was like, running the trolling motor is highly overrated.
Yeah. The guides are that good and the lakes are that good that you don't need it. We've been
so explain how that setup happens. Like you roll there, you get in, like how you do the boat setup, and then what the options are now with the new electronics.
Yeah. So the old program was remote controlled, trolling motors, no foot pedal. The guide is back on the bench seat, and you guys are up front, or one in the front, one in the back, however you're most comfortable. And the guide is with his remote control steering the boat. So now that we have Ultrex is up front, there's a foot pedal there. And then the 12-inch unit's up front, and it's networked to a unit at the console as well. So for the guys who are proficient with forward-facing sonar, who want to put their foot down and look around and maybe drive for a bit, go for it. And those who aren't interested in that, the guide can network the two units together, use the remote from the bench seat, and aim the trolling motor and look around and see it on his second graph back at the console because they're networked together. So that's a nice thing. That it was a setup that seemed to best suit the greatest number of people. The guys who want to just scope and put their foot on it, they're in a position where they can do that. And the guys who don't care for it or don't want to look at a screen, they don't have to. The guide can just say, hey, I see a school 20 feet in front of the head of the Ultrex, make a cast there. And then for the guys who really don't want it, don't turn it on. But at the console, one thing we noticed is that for Lake El Salto, if you turn on the mapping and zoom in, we've got contours, which is pretty darn cool as well. So down scan, side scan, contours on the map, and then forward facing sonar. So one thing that when we bought the company, we were like, we need an identity. We need something to come back to when we're have this long list of ideas of what order do you do them in. And it was always putting clients in the best position for success. That was it. Like, that's what we always come back to. Like, I can't control the fishing. I can't control the weather, but I can put you in the best possible position for success as far as the boats, how they're equipped. We just got to deal with these guys. So we've got Bubba scales on all the boats, the new pros, new nice nets, and loaner fishing rods. They're always free with us. Got to deal with Dobbins. Shout out to Gary Dobbins. He's been great to us over the years. We got champion rods. Also G Loomis, IMX Pros, GLXs, St. Croix, a bunch of Mojos. So we don't charge for rod rentals. That's included.
Mm-hmm. Just like a big giant bundle of rods when you get there. And when you get in and you get settled, like I said, you have a couple of your 7-ounce Pacificos or margarita of your choice. And then you walk down to the lodge and you pick out your sticks for the week. Is the way we did it. Is that the way it's supposed to be done? It
is. And I got some new nice rod holders. So it's more organized by type, bait caster, spinning, crank, jig, that kind of thing. We may do some sort of like sign in, sign out program is like, Matt's got 6 of these. Mm-hmm. And then when you leave,
99.99% of the people, what are they going to do? I guess if you brought a rod case, but if you didn't, I mean, you can't smuggle like a 7.6 Loomis on a plane.
I had one guy like 2 years ago, but he had it coming.
Yeah. So. No, it was awesome. So what I did was I just brought I brought 6 reels, and I ended up I took 4 with me because by day 2 I was like, okay, a 7.6 heavy. I need one with braid for a spook. I need one with 20-pound fluoro for the 5/8 swim bait. And then I had one with 16 on it for a 3/4 ounce trap. And I used a 7.6 heavy for everything. That's just what I ended up using. Yeah. And I was like, dude, a 7.6 heavy, like, because when you need it, you need a little bit of meat to the rod.
You want to get them away from the structure. I mean, Mexico fish are notorious for fighting as hard as fish anywhere. And people saying, get the net, and it's a 4-pounder or 5. I could have swore it was a 9 or a 10. They fight hard, and the trees are there. There's structure. There's jagged stuff. So anything you can do to stack the odds in your favor as far as a bit stronger of a rod, thicker gauge hooks. I always recommend the heaviest line you can get away with using and still get the desired action.
There's those trees we were talking about,
from your bait. You just don't. I rarely these days go less than 17. I know that sounds crazy, but like finesse for me is a 6-inch 5.5 ounce tungsten.
Yeah, 20 and 25 is what I use the whole time, and 50-pound braid.
Yep. That's the
and
best.
Then just brought the reels, and then you just take them out, and you're good to go.
Yeah. And like to paint what people's expectations on the boat. Our guides are great. They're going to give you recommendations on what to throw and where. Tell them your goals as far as I want a giant. I want to catch a lot of fish. I want to catch them on this lure. And they'll plan their route based on that. If you get hung up, don't spend a lot of time jiggling. Hey, take that and get it unstuck.
So like, let's say you want to come down and you want to throw glides for 4 days.
Yeah.
You can do that. You can do that, right?
Absolutely.
Let's say you just want to drag a jig. Let's say you're really sadistic and you like Carolina rigging. you can do all that, or you can come down with an open mind and say, hey, what do you suggest? And your guide looks at it and says, here, this.
My suggestion is usually start with your favorite lures and what you want to catch them on. And then usually they're going to bite that. If you don't get the results you're after, be flexible and take some recommendations from
Have you found anything that doesn't work? Like, I say that in all seriousness.
No. I've the previous owner, Doug, he's an awesome character. Doug King, one of my best friends. But he has a knack for staying up late at night and buying shit online, like weird lures and the most bizarre shit. And he'll come down and we have an ongoing joke. Our general manager's Juan Villa. And years ago, he brought down a frog before, this is 20 years ago, before anybody was fishing frogs. And all the guys were like, no one's going to fish that. No. There's no way. And then he goes out and catches like a 12.5. And now they're all like, we need frogs. We need frogs. So he comes down.
The fuzzy dice. Has anyone brought the dice down yet?
What is that?
The fuzzy dice.
The fuzzy dice.
Has anyone brought the dice down yet? Has there been a dice cast
on that?
In like Baccarac and El Salto?
Yeah, I think you would catch. I haven't seen anyone fish it, but let's say, remember what's the poop heavy?
The heavy
the poop lure.
Yep, depths heavy.
Doug brought that down. He didn't even know how to rig it. He just put it on, throws it out there, and he's talking trash to me. I'm up front, being a little more serious, and there's an 11. So that's just. I haven't found anything that doesn't work. Even like the shuttlecocks, the hair jigs.
Yep.
Golly, yeah, they'll tear that up too. So
I got a buddy.
I think if you find the fish, they're gonna eat. They're gonna eat whatever you put on.
This is, I mean, it looks similar to this when we were there. There were certain areas of the lake that definitely looked like that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. One thing I noticed is I always try to make the longest cast possible. When I get in stuff like that, and I'm throwing a 1-ounce spinnerbait or something, I've learned to tame it down because you'll hook a giant, and it's fun. Blocking the drag and trying to muscle them out, but you can learn.
All right,
get more in the boat.
We're gonna just do this show without a break because we haven't even talked about the reason why I think part of the reason, well, the main reason why these lakes are so good is they're hard to get to, and they're hard to access, and they don't get a ton of pressure. Talk about getting from Shawnee, Oklahoma, down to El Salto, Mexico.
Yeah.
Let's just do El Salto. I haven't been to Baccarac. Let's talk about Baccarac when I get to Baccarac.
Deal.
And that was the biggest reason why I did not go for 4 years. I was like, dude, I can go down to Falcon. I can go to Gunnersville. Like, I can fish big fish lakes. I don't have to worry about flying into Mexico and then taking a van to where I don't know where on El Salto. I am a nervous person.
Yeah, I think the unknown makes us nervous. That's the way we are, people in general, and especially going to another country, in Mexico. So Lake El Salto is near fairly major airport of Mazatlan, which is the next big city north of Puerto Vallarta on the Pacific coast of the mainland. And there's a number of daily flights from the U.S. to Mazatlan. Dallas-Fort Worth has a daily flight. Phoenix, Arizona has a daily flight. Those are both on American Airlines. LAX, Los Angeles, has a daily flight on Alaska. San Francisco has a weekly flight on Alaska. Minneapolis has a flight. And Houston, IAH, has a flight. So there's a number of U.S. cities you can fly direct to Mazatlan from. And typically you can get into DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth, or Phoenix, or one of those major hubs early enough in the morning to make the connection the same day. Mazatlan's about an hour and 15 minutes from our lodge. So
hold on a second here. So here's Oklahoma City. This is where I am.
Yep.
There's Dallas. So let's just do Dallas. Everyone knows where Dallas is.
So you could take, like, I have a lot of clients in Oklahoma, a lot from Tulsa over to Oklahoma City, and they usually just take a first thing in the morning flight to DFW, lay over there, and then take the direct 2 hour and 10-minute flight from DFW to Mazatlan.
Okay, so here's Dallas right here with it is. So here's the border. So we're in Mexico, folks. This isn't like you're going down to Amistad. Like, you're on the coast down there. Yeah. I was shocked. Like, I was like, my God, there's like the ocean. Like, that's the coast right there. Like the blue water coast. I had no clue. I thought Mazatlan was like in the middle of the country. That's how bad I was at geography.
Scroll down just a little. Puerto Vallarta's right down there beneath it.
Okay, so there's Mazatlan. So I was just giving people an idea of where it is, because I had no clue. Like, you hear about it and you have no idea.
And then, you land, you do your little, how many bags do you have? Where are you staying? Pro Bass Adventures. How many people are in your groups? Do you have anything to clear? Usually nothing, unless you're bringing a bunch of cigars and something like that. Yeah. You clear customs. And as soon as you walk into the main airport, my driver's there.
Super easy. He's greeting there. Hey! Yeah. There you go.
Come on, let's go.
And then you're like, dear God, please hope my tackle comes here.
Yeah. Hop in the van with the AC. There's a cooler in there with some beverages. And it's an hour and 15 minutes to the lake. And
okay. So we're in Mazatlan here. Where am I going from Mazatlan then?
So you're going up northwest. Zoom, show me a little more over there. And you're gonna see La Cruz. See La Cruz? Right up on the coast, up left, La Cruz.
Yep, and then there's La Cruz right here. So we're going to take this. This is where we were seeing the ocean the whole way.
And then we own a little hotel in La Cruz as well, and there's a restaurant there, which is great for us because we have a great infrastructure. It's called the Hotel JR. So we have kind of a fully stocked restaurant facility there. And if we get giant groups that are too big to fit all in our lodge on the lake, we can put the overflow there.
Is La Cruz that city we drive through where everyone's just driving like there are no laws?
Yeah. It's
dude, like that's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
There's like a little hotel, a hospital there too. So there's some infrastructure.
Yeah, but I'm talking like a motorcycle with like two grown men and then like a 6-year-old on the back of it going like 70 the wrong way in between cars that are going the opposite direction.
Yeah, you see a bit of that kind of activity down there. Everybody rides mopeds. Fuel's the biggest expense. It's $6 a gallon down there. So everybody rides a moped or a motorcycle, and you carpool as much as you can. So fuel's expensive.
Okay, so
from La Cruz. You go through, see that road through the middle of the desert up to the right there, kind of, and there's a little lake, a little more right there. That's us. That's the lake. That's Lake El Salto right there. Zoom in. So that right where your mouse is, out a little bit, that peninsula, that famous Lake El Salto sign. If you move your mouse left about an inch or two, that's right where the El Salto sign is right there on that little point that comes out. So our lodge
right here,
just down a little bit is the El Salto sign right there. Yep. That's the El Salto sign, the famous El Salto sign. So that's our lake. And if you move down.
So this is the deal where, look
no,
at
excuse
this.
me.
Look
excuse
at
me.
this. This
there
is
you
it
go.
right
Zoom
here.
in there. That's
there it is, right
Salto.
there. It says.
Yep. We're right between Anglers Inn and Ron Speed right there.
Anglers Inn, Ron Speed, and you guys are right there.
Right in the middle of the two.
Yep.
And, to correct myself, I was mistaken. The little island you see
is right here.
That's it. Yep.
So this island is the island that Darren and I went around with. OL was like, topwater on the final morning.
Yeah.
I don't know why he didn't have us do it the first 3 mornings. I think he was saving it till the end. We had 6 over 6 pounds on a scale in one pass around the island.
Yeah.
On a
lot
spook.
Of people walk up that and take pictures by the sign.
Yep. It says like right here on the island is where, if you look at any of the stuff that I've posted, it says El Salto. And then this is where like there's like isn't there like the cemeteries up in here somewhere? Yeah. And then there's like some flooded stuff. And dude, like there's so many fish just in this little, you could just like fish just this little deal right here and never leave it. And
I just drop
40 pounds a day
and go sometimes right there. But we're right between those two there. Unfortunately, we don't have a presence on the Google map right there, which I'm working on. They want to mail me a postcard, but the postman to put us on there, but the postman never, mail in Mexico is a challenge. So yep, that's our facility right over in there.
This one yours right here? Or where? Oh yeah, that's yours right there.
The covered boat area.
Yep.
And then
so this is the lodge.
Yep. And we just built an addition on that lodge. So now there's it extends to the right, I would say, or north. We extended it, added more rooms.
And then this is the chow house, the dining hall, and like where everyone like hangs out at night.
Graveyard that you fished, you see right there. Yeah. And actually I have an awesome partner down there, and some of his family is actually in that graveyard, which is wild. That's how far back the local culture goes. Here's the doc.
So explain it. So like using this, like explain a day on El Salto.
Okay. Knock at the door, 4:30, coffee, tea, whatever your beverage is. Take your breakfast order at that time. By the time you get freshened up, you come out to the dining hall, short walk, and we have your breakfast ready for you. We check and make sure, all your rods, everything is ready to go, meet with your guide. And when the water's high, you just walk to the.
How high does the water comes up? Like
all the way up to there. Yeah. All the way up to there. That's
now when we were there, it was probably, does this dock move?
Yeah. We move it around.
That makes a lot more sense. I feel like the water was like right in here, maybe when we were here.
Yep.
Like the graveyard was out of the water, but you could cast to it if you wanted to.
Yeah. And it's long too. So ride down. So if you can walk, or if you want us to drive, we shuttle back and forth to the dock. On your boat, we like to be fishing no later than 6. Fishing all morning. We come back for lunch typically between 11 and 12 o'clock, sometime in there. And then it's up to you how long you want to take a lunch break for. So that's one thing that drew me to Pro Bass in the original was if I wanted to take a short lunch break, or one day I wanted to skip lunch, and I was being kind. I said, just don't make me anything. I'm going to fish because this is too good. I don't even want to take a break. And they said, well, we'll just bring you food down, or you can come up, grab it and go. So that flexibility made me sold as a client years ago for a long time. That catering to the
you're lunch. You're gonna want to eat lunch. You're gonna want to take a quick siesta. You're gonna want to have a frozen margarita.
Yeah.
When the guides hang out, that gives them time to eat lunch.
Yeah.
If there's like a floating tilapia, or what OL found a lot was like a bass that was freshly dead that usually had like 1.5 pound tilapia in its gullet.
Yeah.
And he would always be like, okay, if I keep it. And we're like, hell yeah, it's like a dead bass. Like, have at it. And then he would keep the tilapia and the bass. I've never seen anything like it.
Unfortunately, it's a sight we see a lot with our bass. And that's why big swim baits work, right? They're eating, their stomach's too big for their eyes, and they choke on big tilapia. And they have those spines, so it's a one-way thing. And sometimes they get them down, sometimes they choke.
Yep. And so a couple times we found them, and they were alive. And if they were alive, he'd pull it out and let them go. But if they were dead, he'd box them.
Yeah, and don't waste it, right? Like, I feel better about that.
Yeah, 100%.
We've all had a fish die on us that we didn't want to, and
but these are fish that
is something
choked on tilapia that were gigantic.
Big. It's amazing how big of a bait they'll try to swallow.
Yeah.
So lunch, 11:30 to up to you. 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, all different times. Shuttles going back and forth constantly. It's up to you. You just need to communicate that with your guide before you leave for lunch. So he's there ready to go. PM session lasts till dark, and then it's back for dinner, drinks, repeat, and meet some other anglers there sometimes and share your stories and what you caught them on, what you didn't catch them on, and bragging about your catches. That's what it's all about.
I think we had like a couple bender nights, and some of the nights we were tired and went to bed early, but sometimes this area can get a little rowdy.
We cater to everybody. We do.
That one right there. There's been some good times had in that building.
Comfortable. And if you want to go to bed, go to bed early.
Yep.
One thing we did since you were there, we installed that new Starlink Wi-Fi internet.
Oh, nice.
Which is sweet. And then we built a bridge, which I didn't even know about this. My stepdad actually helped me with this. He's cool. And we jumped it across through the 2 buildings, and then we put range extenders in all the rooms. So like the signal, when we were rigging all the boats under that white hooded structure, we had strong signal across the whole property, every room. Multiple people can watch movies and watch whatnot.
So if you have to do business, if you want to call home, if you want to do any of that, you can log on. You're good to go.
You're good to go. I bet we could do this podcast and it wouldn't even glitch up.
We're gonna try it. We're gonna try it because we're going. I'll be there December 7th or 8th through the 14th.
9th through the 15th.
9th through the 15th. That's it.
Yep.
I have 7th through the 15th blocked off, but I think that's just because I know I need a day to prepare. Yeah, we'll definitely do VTO.
Yeah, let's do it. There.
So as far as the fishing then, like the whole lake, you fish the whole lake. Like I know we fished a bunch of stuff. I know we did I loved the river that we had some vicious topwater bites up there. I know I want to say like over in this area is where like our best trap stuff was.
Right.
And then all the like there was some cool stuff that we did over, I think in here, like where we had some, like one time there was like a ripple on the surface and Darren cast a spook over there and he caught like an 8-7 in the middle on nothing that just came up and slurped it like a fly. But then some of them would, the whole lake is fishable.
It is. And now that we have the forward facing sonar, and I've noticed this at even some lakes in the US, not all of them, some of these bass are pretty pelagic, man. They'll get offshore, they'll roam, they'll suspend, and they'll hunt, not relating to structure for hours, which initially when I first started bass fishing, I saw water from I just saw structure, and the surface was a structure too, but it's just opened my eyes to the behaviors of some of these really big fish that they're not all up on the bank all day. They will go where the food is, and they'll work together to move food to areas where they're vulnerable. So that's kind of the original river valley to the right, the Alota River. Yeah, through there. That's where a lot of those lilies and stuff come into the lake and whatnot that you see. Great fishing up there.
You ever ran up that sucker?
And when the water's high, you can go back far. I mean, like miles.
You still catch them?
Yep, and you can still catch them. I've never got any real big ones up there, but I've taken a boat pretty darn far up there where I almost got scared. I was looking at the gas tank like, how much gas do I have left? I think I'm going to turn around. I haven't seen much for a while, but just checking it out. The original lagoon by the lodge, super popular. Well, not as popular as it could be, but sometimes you can just drop a trolling motor and hit them there all day. Sometimes the bite's so good, I feel like the guide he doesn't have to take you past that, but like if you're on a guide trip and all they did is take you right into the freaking lots all day, you might be like.
So what OL would do is he would always right before lunch, he'd give us like 10 or 15 minutes in here, and then we would always end there at the night.
Yeah, it's a great setup. There's a number of flats. It's a shallower lake. Compared to most Mexico lakes. So like any of those points you see are long and drawn out, and you might be 100 yards offshore and fishing 20 foot, which is money for big fish habitat.
I mean, you never went to the dam. Does the dam play?
I've fished there quite a bit. I've caught some good ones on the riprap there. They're either there or they're not, so you'll know real quick. And now you can look with the sonar and just kind of see if the bait's there and all those key indicators to whether you're gonna smash them or not. There's little like huts and stuff all over the lake. You'll hear guys playing music that are checking their tilapia nets throughout the day or doing little work and stuff. So it's neat to see a community that really like lives off the lake, but really wants to preserve it and protect it for the future generations and all the different entities that share it. Like the tilapia fishermen who need it, us who employ a lot of people, the guides. So it's a really important resource for the region. Everyone there is so good. I mean, I know the staff, you mentioned how good a care they took of you, and they just really are happy to have Americans there.
You still have that dog that's like walks with a limp and has one eye and is super nice.
Blanco. Yeah. Blanco showed up, and he's very popular. And I think the first day he showed up, we were like, hey, you got to feed that dog. And we gave him like steak or something. And he's never leaving now.
No, he's been there a number of years. I remember when we got there last year, Darren was like, my God, that Blanco's still here.
Still kicking, dude. Yeah. 3 legs, 1 eye. And you'll see him first thing in the morning. As soon as you get up, he'll come right up to you and say, hey, give me some milk.
What else am I missing about this, Josh?
Let's see here. Not much. I think we touched them all. I made some notes of things I wanted to kind of touch on, and we touched on all of them. I think. I
Well,
think I'd
I
like.
will say this. So, like, on the highway on the way there and back,
Yeah.
you'll see guys in pickup trucks with machine guns.
Yeah, you will.
You
They're the
don't,
good guys, though.
yeah, you don't know who they are. You don't know what they are. You just like don't take pictures of them and hang out. Like the highways are very nice. Everything to me seemed very safe. I thought if someone had said, "Hey, a guy's in machine guns in a pickup truck will pass you on the highway," you'd be like, "Oh, that's not good." I felt totally safe. Like
Yeah.
I felt very comfortable to say that.
Yeah.
Like it was not at all an uncomfortable experience for me, and I am a very uncomfortable person in situations where I don't know what is happening.
It's different.
Yeah.
In Mexico, the army is kind of an extension of the police force in a sense. So they do regular patrols. Like our army doesn't do a whole lot on our soil other than on the bases and whatnot.
Okay.
You see them sometimes, but they're doing regular patrols just like the police do. And they know that the country in general has some problems, so they're trying to be visible and do their job and make people feel and be safe. So on the ride, it's a pretty straight shot. You know, we're onto the toll road, so not a lot of people are taking that because it costs a bit of money. And it's straight to the lodge and straight.
And then when you get there, the lodge is very it's self-contained. Like you're at it, it's just the lodge. Like there's nothing else there. Like you can walk around, you get there, you drive down, and it's like it's like its own little oasis
with a big locking gate. And you know, we have night watchmen that watch the facility while everybody's asleep. We have them down at the boats too. I leave all my equipment down there. You know, I leave my rods on the boat.
Yeah, we did too. We left every single thing in the boat in the morning.
I've left all kinds of valuables on there, and no issues as far as that kind of stuff.
And I always thought it was crazy. Those like, oh well, all the guides. I mean, like motors running, ready to go, rods, beers, drinks, sodas, everything. Like you walk down at 6 a.m. and you're like, have you been here since 4? Like getting this, like all your old plastics are like lined up on the deal. And I'm like, dude, like
we'll take Mendit and just repair all your stuff.
Not gonna use those anymore.
They're so good. Yep.
So how do you find guides?
That's a good question. A lot of them are the sons of the older guides. So there's like 4 main families of guides that work for us. And there's a couple cousins. Kevin's father, Jerry, is probably one of our most tenured guides who's been with us many, many, many years. There are, since we're growing so fast, we have been approached by some guides from some competitors that are wanting to jump ship and join us. That hasn't happened as of yet, but guides in Mexico, there aren't that many. You got to invest some time and train them, but a lot of the better ones are the sons of an existing guide. So he's been tagging along and learned boat control and all these things. One thing we do is I'm a guide in the US, so I know how the American clients want to fish, and the Mexican guides are great, but scope is new. Even down in side scan, they know all those humps through triangulation with a little, rock over there and this and that. So, spending time with all of them, a month down there every summer at each location, and just showing them how to use all this technology to get even better than they are has been huge for us, and I think given us a huge competitive edge, I'd say, and help them go. But a lot of them are guys that grew up with it, and some of them were the tilapia fishermen, right? So they're out there every day, they know how to use a boat, and they've seen the lake all the way down to its lowest level and back, so they know where all the little and stick ups and things.
I think OL knows all the tilapia fishermen too. He always does that little.
Some of them are tilapia fishermen.
I can't do the whistle. He does the shh. I can't do it. He does some sort of whistle, and then like a quarter mile away, some tilapia fisherman will be like, "Ay," and then he'll give him that.
Yeah.
He keeps going.
It's such a tight knit community down there,
and you could tell like they enjoy. I mean, I'm sure it's just like every other guide too. Like you've got miserable guides in the United States, but for the most part, it seemed like everybody enjoyed like really enjoyed their job.
They do.
Is that
They
considered
absolutely
like a really good job, like in Mexico too, to
very,
be yeah, okay.
very prestigious.
Yeah.
To serve clients, to the people they get to meet, the network that they build, and if they take good care of their clients, they know that when you come, one, you'll come back, and two, you'll ask for them again,
Yeah.
and they develop a rapport. And that's good for us. I like my guides sending a message to our clients saying, "Hey, happy birthday, how you been?" I encourage that kind of dialogue, and I've heard that some of the lodges don't, and I just never understood why. I think it's good for the business, and then we take good care of our guys. We pay them very well, by the standards down there, compared to what the industry average is, and all of our employees. In fact, that was when we purchased the business, the first thing Sarah insisted on was that everybody get a very substantial raise, and I think it was the smartest thing we could have done, because how you treat your employees is how they treat your clients, and they're engaging with your clients in your absence. So you really have to set an example of directly through how you engage with them.
You mentioned the raise then. So this isn't like you're not paying your guide every day. So the when you come down there, there's a price for whatever it is, and that's on the website and all that. But that includes your lodging, your meals, and your guide fee each day, and then you just are responsible for the tip for your guide each day.
Yeah, that's right. They get we pay them a flat amount daily for every day they work. Some of the employees are like salaried, so they get paid year round. But most of them get paid
guides.
Work. The guides, yeah. So they do get a staple from us, and then we make sure to have them well equipped with scissors and tools and scales and everything they need to do their job.
Oh, they're well equipped. It took 2 days before we wouldn't try to unhook every single fish.
Knockers, they call them busos.
I get it too. You don't want a guy who hasn't been handling fish, and you've got 3 sets of treble hooks on a spook up there, and the guy's like, the fish is going caw, caw, caw. I mean, like, I could understand why you're like, yeah, no, let me get that one, Jim.
Yeah, I do this every day. Pick up another rod and cast, bud.
Yeah.
Airport transportation, lodging, rooms are double occupancy, so are the boats. Nice rooms. Some of them have kings, some of them have queens, mini splits, ACs in each room, dedicated bathroom for each room. The sink's outside of the bathroom shower, so one guy can brush his teeth while the other one washes up. Loaner fishing rods, that's huge. We don't charge for that, and traveling with rods can be a pain sometimes. So if you want to leave the rods at home, please do. You're welcome to use ours, and I'm confident I've got sticks that you like. All the beer and margaritas, all your food's fantastic. Generous portions, probably more than you need, but they take good care of you there.
I think we did burgers one night, we did a steak one night, we did tacos one night, we did, I'm trying to think, were there 5? Did we do fish one night?
Maybe. Sometimes we bring some mahi in or different things like that.
We might have done fish one night. And then for it was always there was one that was, I can't remember. Lunch was always really good though.
Yeah, I eat too much at lunch sometimes.
Yeah,
so I get a little tired. That's why I haven't brewed another pot of coffee for me, so I can get back out there. We can cook around the dietary preferences or allergies. A lot of people have that these days. Shoot, I do. I just realized like a couple years ago that gluten makes me feel like crap. So they know how to do that, which is pretty cool. That they accommodate like that. So what's not included is just airfare and tipping for the guides and staff. And we have some really kind of transparent recommendations that of maybe your airport driver a couple bucks, and then tipping your guide. And then we usually give guys an envelope at the end that's split up among the night watchmen, the servers, the cooks, and and the people behind the scenes you don't get a chance to meet, but are very important people on the team.
Is it true that you should keep $100 bill, and then tell your guy 10-pounder? If I catch a 10, and they'll take you to the bigger fish spots. I've heard that for years about, hey, if you ever go down to Mexico, always tell your guide.
I got some.
Just show them, say $100, 10-pounder.
Okay, they're gonna give you your best no matter what. But there's nothing like putting a goal there in front of someone and adding a little extra motive or incentive. But I don't think like you need to feel like you need to do that. They're going to give you their best because they're seeing it long term. Like we've kind of set the example of the long term vision of growth, right? Massive investment, big new additions to the boats, more rooms, all these kinds of cool things. So they're buying into that, and they're thinking more than just now. They want to develop a relationship with you. They want to give you a good time, so that when you come back, you want to fish with them and build their kind of schedule of clients. Because new people, I'll assign them a guide based on their goals. But once you've been there once or twice, most guys find a guide after a few trips that they kind of gravitate and gel with, and they want to fish with the same person. So it doesn't hurt. Sure, offer them some money, but it's not necessary to catch a
and if you come down like in a
your
group
odds
of
are probably equal
6, 8,
way.
10 guys, you can mix and match. You're not with the same guy every day. You want to jump in and fish with your buddy one day, you can. You want to fish with another buddy the next day, you can.
You're free to rotate as long as everybody involved wants to.
Yeah.
We can do that, and that's part of the reason why I got these new Bubba scales. Is like we can network them all going through the app, and you can have your little friendly competitions and weigh the fish and see who's got the most and do that kind of thing. We don't have like actual tournaments. There's no live welling and there's no weigh-ins. That's banned on our lakes, but you can weigh fish on the boat and release them right away.
So like say in the BTL
cool
group
format
that we have coming down in December, if everyone wanted to keep track of their biggest fish that they caught one day on the Bubba scale, catch, weigh, release, and then at the lodge that night over margaritas and cervezas, maybe the guy who had the biggest fish on that Bubba scale got like an AFCO rain suit that would be sent to him when he got home. That would be totally above board.
That would be a great idea. I totally support that. And we got that big whiteboard too, so we can put everybody's names up, the dates, big fish. Can organize it however we want. I encourage that.
Okay.
Yeah. And sometimes people start talking trash, so you got to tell him to put his money where his mouth is. And if I got to take your money, I got to take your money. I'm sorry. We can still be friends.
I did. We had like a little friendly wagers every night. And I first afternoon is when I caught the 9.7, but then I never won another one of the hourly ones. Like I would always get beat out by like an ounce or two. Someone would come in, oh, we caught, an 8.6 and blah, blah, it came off in the net. So I do want to mention, so here's the deal. I am hesitant to just bring new people on when I have the opportunity. I want to feel it out. I want to see how it is. You guys know how that's been with BTL from when Mark Jeffrey started this 20 years ago, all the way to through 3 years ago when I took this over. Everything that's on BTL, I stand behind, from the boat to the line, baits, rods, reels, batteries, everything. But I feel comfortable and confident in saying, especially after talking with you a lot off and then through this hour and 28 minutes, is BTL the official is Pro Bass Adventures the official Mexican lodge of BTL?
Yeah, I'm happy to have made that official with you.
Okay, we're gonna do that. Let's do that, and I think this could result in some really cool trips.
Yeah, and I think we can get creative in a way to reward listeners and people who are big supporters of the show. Yep. This is great.
100%.
I'll be there in December, and we'll have some time to brainstorm a bunch of creative ideas. I've got some now. We'll talk about it. And
I like it. There are still some openings because I haven't really I mentioned it months ago, but I haven't really talked about it since. There are still a couple openings for that December trip if people are interested in coming down to Mexico, fishing El Salto. I'll be there. I know we've got a couple groups of BTL listeners, and then my buddy Darren, if you want to meet him, I talk about him on the show all the time. Juice from Juice's Jigs is going to be down of Juice's Jigs fame. Do you want to talk? Yeah, Jarrett. Yeah. Oh, dude, you better have an hour when he calls.
I did. Yeah.
Did that guy talk about how he can't wait to go down and throw his custom made hair on all those El Salto bass?
He did. And then I kind of like covertly asked him for a few, and it sounded like he's busy building these things.
So busy. He had
I didn't feel like he said no, but it sounded like a maybe later. He must be busy.
He sold out in 2 minutes on 144.
Wow.
He's got, I'll say it. he's got Wheeler and Milliken and Polinick and all the guys asking about it.
He does.
And they're calling me going, that's your buddy, right? And I'm like, dude, like the guy like has a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old. He coaches 3 different soccer leagues, a football league. Like when he makes his jigs, he makes his jigs.
I like that. When we spoke, he kind of shared his angle and what his goals were and where the line was as far as like things he won't his things he won't compromise, and family was high on that list. So really cool guy. I look forward to meeting him in person.
Ballpark, Dexter's saying fishing down there is out of most people's pay grade in Mexico. 4 or 5 day trip. What are we talking ballpark?
Package, 4 nights, 3 full days of fishing, $17.95 per person. Additional days, $325 per day, and a weekly rate of $27.50 per guy. So that's airport pickup, airport drop off, lodging, meals, unlimited beer and margaritas. Some guys can drink that much, and loaner fishing rods, fishing license in the fishing. Tips usually work out to about 15% of that, I'd say, maybe 20, depending on the individual. So
4 days, you said how much for 4 days? 7
4 nights, 3 full days of fishing, $17.95, right at $1,800 for easy math.
Okay, yep. 1 second.
And you think you get the room, you get the fishing.
So that's $600 a day, and that includes the room, the fishing, meals, alcohol, or soft drinks, whatever, everything.
Yeah, and maybe add like let's call it $100 a day for tips.
Okay, so
if you were,
let's say $700 a day, and that includes the lodging, everything, and then depending on when you get your flights and how you have. A lot of guys use miles. I know that.
Yeah, typically around $500 for the DFW to Mazatlan flight on average. Sometimes it can go up to 6 or 7 depending on the time of the year. And if you have a leg to get into DFW, you might add a couple bucks there. So it's not. I mean, I fish all over the country and the world. I just got back.
Dude, that's way cheaper than you can do any trophy bass lake in America.
When I was a client, I was like, this is great. So that's one thing I tried to do was just pack that price with value. The loaner fishing rods, the technology on the boats. We built a huge pro shop at Baccarac, coming soon to El Salto, with all the major rands and fishing. Just anything I can do to try and shove as much value into that price. That's the focus.
And they're Ranger fishermen?
Yeah, the Ranger Fisherman series, and I have like 3 or 4 Comanches too. And the Fisherman series was a unique one that Forrest made for the original owner. And they're an interesting boat. They're like 18 feet and have a huge front deck. It's actually bigger than a bass.
That's the one I fished out of. It's got the green carpet in it.
Yes, we just recarpeted them all and put 20, 24, and 20 ounce bass, the nice carpet, and all of them now. But a guy named Fred Ward started it all. And he sold it to Doug, and I'm the third owner. I'm the next one to have bought it. But Fred knew Forrest. They were friends, and Forrest has been down to fish with us many times. So that Fisherman series was kind of custom for us and a few other guide companies. They didn't make it very long, but they're awesome platforms. I kind of wish they still made them. I would buy more because that front deck's so big. 2 fly fishermen can fish up there. And even me and Justin and Sarah, the 3 of us will all fish up there together. We do. I got a group of 20 fly fishermen. First no net period in January, and then the end of the month we got another 15. Sims comes down. There's been some hammers that have come down.
They catch them on topwater like streamers and poppers and stuff.
Yep. I've caught some big ones. In fact,
it just seems like a pain in the ass when you have 75 yards of line at your feet and then something eats it, and then you have to wait for it all.
This is actually the catch and release largemouth bass all tackle length fly record that I caught there. I'm not.
How many records do you have?
22 for me.
Wait.
That's a different.
We didn't even get into this. Okay,
different show.
We'll do that next show.
Yeah.
What do you just go through? Do you just go through the record books and find records? You're like, I think I can do that, and then like that becomes your goal.
Kind of how it started. Actually, the first one was Sarah at Lake Baccarac. She set the IGFA women's 12-pound test line class world record, which was actually just beat at OHIV, and it kind of went viral. I forgot her name, but she caught like a 12 at OHIV and beat it. So that was the first record we set. And then it just started kind of going from there. We started realizing we'd caught some records before. Like people have actually maybe caught some records and weren't aware of it. So I'm a stickler for identification. I'm big in the aquarium hobby. So I'm into exotic fish, and any fish I catch, I want to identify, like the bean eye cichlid or different things like that. So it kind of stemmed from that, identifying them. I always have a certified scale, and then realizing that, oh, if you would have caught that fish on 6 pound test instead of 8, that would have been a record. So Sarah's into that. She loves 6 pound tests. That's her jam. She has the 6 pound tiger muskie, 6 pound largemouth, and the 6 pound smallmouth. Pretty impressive.
That's very impressive.
Pretty cool.
How big was a tiger muskie?
Tiger muskie, yeah.
How big was that?
That was 16 pounds, 13 ounces, 6 pound test. Yeah.
What did she get to eat? Like, what was she using?
It was a
test because you can't use anything big.
Down CD9.
Was she trying to catch the?
Yeah, she was. She was prepared. Yeah, she does it a little more. She's
no
always
leader.
Like tournament line. No, we were using a leader by Stealth Tackle makes a leader, a fluorocarbon leader, and then there's certain brands of line that break at this specific breaking point so that you can set different line class records.
I like it. I will say this: if you do go, just make sure. I don't care what you bring over, but if you're going into Mexico, do not bring any fruit. They're pretty strong on the fruit. Like
no fruit.
Like no drug sniffing dogs. A lot of fruit sniffing dogs. I mean, you do not want to get caught with a banana going from.
No, you really don't.
No, I'm dead serious.
You really don't.
That's such a big egg. I would assume that's because agriculture is so massive down there. You see like a lot of the guava, or is it the guava deals that we pass down there?
Yeah, they grow guavas,
and all mangoes, sorts of different fruits and mangoes. And I would assume that they want to make sure that nothing that's in
invasive pests could mess them up bad.
Yeah,
they
totally
don't have the
up,
infrastructure that we do. So dealing with
Clay knows. He said the dogs are for the bananas.
But one thing I will say that is important. Mexico airports are different going home. So flying in, you can bring your reels in your backpack, your lines, your lures, your weights, whatever. Going home, put it in your check bag. They don't like line. They don't even like reels without line sometimes, but it definitely, if you carry a reel on, it better not have line on it.
Weights, hooks. Dumped all mine.
I don't know what they think you're going to do with that spool of line. Maybe tie people up on the plane, but they will take it from you. They'll take it from you. Yeah. And then one time I had, they got me once, so I had to strip all my line. And my other buddy went back and rechecked it. And then after it's done, they're like, yeah, but the reel, the star, maybe that could be like a weapon. I don't know. It's all about who's working that day down there. You know, if you get the right guy. You're
dude. So this trip's coming up quick, December 9th through the 15th. There's still spots available. I'm at the Bass Nation National Championship starting Saturday, all through that next week, and then the day that ends, Matt Steffen comes in for our Master Angler Quest with Bait Quest, which basically puts us to Thanksgiving. Is there an email if people want to jump in on this that they can email to where it doesn't get lost in my email box?
Reach out to me.
Okay.
probassadventures@gmail.com. General inquiries or BTL if you're interested in the trip.
Yeah, just put BTL trip in the tagline.
December 9th through the 15th. The group's traveling in through DFW and American Airlines. I can give you all the details. If you're interested, give us a shout. You can even give me a call, 425-345-8891. I love talking fishing. So if you want to learn more about Mexico bass fishing, don't hesitate to reach out. Our website, probassadventures.com. And see us on social media. There's updates every day. Fishing reports, big ones people are catching. Instagram and Facebook are the same. Pro Bass Adventures Mexico.
Dude, I'm pumped. I can't wait to get back down there. I can't wait to eventually also
I'm gonna be there. And
Baccarac.
Yeah, I'll see you in December there, and then we'll do Baccarac next year. I'm bringing my buddy Grady Codd, who's a hammer and a videographer. So we're gonna have a good old time.
Heck yeah.
It's gonna be
Should
fun.
be awesome.
I look forward to it.
How many 10s do you think our group will catch? 2? I think 2's realistic.
Yeah.
1, I think 1. No, 2's realistic.
I think 2's very realistic. And we've already got quite a few this season. 3 at El Salto in the last 3 weeks. So that 1 a week average is pretty typical. Some weeks there's none. Some weeks it's like almost everybody gets one. They're weird. You know how they do. Bass,
dude, if you get a thumbs up from Clay,
2 or 3, and then I don't get one for a trip or 2. It's just that's the way it is. But with the sonar, come on.
Yeah,
you didn't have live scope last time, buddy. It might be even more than 2. Who knows how many you're gonna put in the boat?
If you're getting a thumbs up from Clay, you're getting a thumbs up from Clay. You've really done something. Clay's listening to like every
my
show.
Fish count towards the total?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay, yeah, I'm taking the over for sure.
Yeah, that'll work. All right, dude, I'm going to let you go. We went
Thanks,
an hour and 41 minutes, and I told you we'd go 40 minutes.
It was easy. Felt like we started 5 minutes ago. I look forward to doing it again. I'm looking forward to seeing you in December.
Sounds good. Take it easy, Josh.
Thanks, guys.
See you. All right, there you go. Josh Daniels, owner of Pro Bass Adventures down on El Salto and Lake Baccarac in Mexico. Shoot him a message. I'll have all the details in the YouTube description and his email and contact. If you guys are interested, there are some spots. There were some guys from the MPFL that were going to go, and then when they canceled the Florida tournament and then rescheduled it for December, it's rescheduled right on top of those dates. But dude, it's fun. It's like one of the few times outside of Alaska, Mexico, that Mexico trip was the only trip where I've actually like unplugged, where I've just completely kind of lost track of time and just enjoyed myself. Alaska I didn't have a choice because we didn't have any cell service outside of like an emergency cell. We were on the base of the Aleutian Island chains, but Mexico was that. The whole goal of this obviously was to introduce people to Pro Bass Adventures and stuff, but also, man, I just like learning about new places and to get people more comfortable with it, because I wish that I had had this information years ago, so I wouldn't have missed out on it for the first 39 years of my life. All right. Great evening show tomorrow. As long as none of these naders get us tonight with this storm front coming in. Day 4 with the man Frank Scalish. And then I will continue to gain knowledge and information about this bombshell that has hit professional bass fishing world. The no entry fees in the Bassmaster Elite Series. This has been another edition of BTL. We'll talk to everybody tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. See ya.